Hello stamping friends, I am excited to bring to you today a Paper Pumpkin inspired organizational tutorial. If you know me, you know how much I love Stampin' Up's Paper Pumpkin subscriptions. These are the little boxes that come in our mailbox once a month, filled with stamps and ink and supplies to make a fun seasonal project, whatever Stampin' Up has surprised us with. And I have found that these stamp sets, as great as they are, I was starting to lose track of them and forgetting to use them because I would leave them in the box if I hadn't, used up all the supplies, or I would tuck them in a drawer. So I wanted to come up with a way to organize them, to make them accessible and just ready at my fingertips, so I will think to use them more often, because there are always great fonts and sentiments, as well as all the additional stamps. I want to make sure that I use again and again. So what I have done is come up with a great little mini stamp set magazine holder. And we are going to make one today. I'm going to show you how to do this. And it just uses a few supplies and holds the stamp sets nicely organized. I have them in order by date and have the Paper Pumpkin Kit name with them. And this little magazine holder will hold 1 year's worth of Paper Pumpkin. So let's get started. Let me show you what you need. You will need a sheet of Stampin' Up cardstock in whichever color you choose. It needs to be 8.5 by 10, so just cut 1 inch off of a standard sheet of cardstock. You'll need some DSP that coordinates with your cardstock, and you'll cut 1 piece to 3 1/4 by 5.5, and you'll need 2 pieces that are 3 1/4 by 1 3/4. And then if you want to embellish it with some ribbon, you'll need about 25 inches of a coordinating trim. That's optional. You can decorate it however you want. Now, to fill the box, you will also need 3 sheets of Whisper White cardstock and some of the Stampin' Up clear envelopes. Additionally, you'll need score tape, your multi-purpose liquid glue, a bone folder is helpful but it's not required, and some paper snips. So let's get started. And you will also need your Stampin' Up trimmer. So I'm going to bring mine in. And actually, we're not doing any stamping, so I can move my grid pad away and make some space. And you're going to want to extend your arm. Now take your cardstock with the 10-inch side across the top, and we're going to score. So make sure your cutting blade, which is the darker blade, is moved out of the way. We're going to score using the lighter blade. So with a 10-inch side on top, we're going to score it at 4.5. And 6.5. Then you're going to turn it to the 8.5-inch side, score it at 1 3/8. And 7 1/8. And that is all you need the trimmer for, so we can put it away. Now use your bone folder or your fingers, whichever you prefer, and we are going to score on the fold lines, or fold on the score lines. You know what I mean. now you're going to need your paper snips. And on the sides, we're just going to make 2 snips up to that score line on each side. So there. And there. There. Okay, so your box is going to come together. You'll notice you have a shorter end and a taller end. That tall end is going to be the back. Okay, and it's just going to come together like this. So let's get our score tape. And you want to run a strip across the top and bottom of these little flaps. And on both. This is the Tranquil Tide cardstock, which is an in color. And then we're going to also put a strip on this side of the shorter ends, which is the front. And that's all the adhesive we need for that. So go ahead, pull off the backing. I would use my paper piercing tool. I think that is the quickest way to get the backer off of this tear and tape. But my cat thieves it if I don't put it away. My cat thieves many things. I don't know why. I don't know what the interest is in a piercing tool, unless she's trying to hide things that can torture my dog with. Anyway, and then you're going to fold up the back flap just to meet. You can either do it flat on the table, or if you want to meet it here and make sure the sides line up. So that you don't make you want to keep this at a 90-degree angle. And then pull off the front sides. And fold up the sides. Now you want your front side flaps to go over last so that they're on top. It just helps it to look cleaner and neater. And we're going to decorate it. But before we do that, I also want to angle this. So the quickest and easiest way, without any measuring or fussing about it, is I just hold it on its side, start at the corner, and just snip it. You don't have to get too fussy or make it too complicated. We just want it done right so we can get back to stamping. And then I like to use the green lid glue to adhere my pieces, just because it gives me a little bit of wiggle time. Just make sure that you've got it in the direction the right direction, and center it up exactly where you want it. I turn it upside down and just give it a good press to make sure it's adhered all around the edges. And then we're going to, you'll notice that the seams don't go all the way to the end. And now you can adjust your measurements if you are bothered by that, but I wanted to be able to use an 8.5 by 11 sheet rather than my 12 by 12. So I have made the measurements accordingly. And once you decorate it, you really can't even tell that it doesn't go all the way across. And by gluing this DSP on there, you're giving it a little bit more added bond and strength right there on the side. Okay, and I'm not going to decorate the back. You can, but where I keep these, you can't see the back, so why waste my beautiful DSP on something you don't see when I can make a card with it? And so, like I said, I have about 25 inches of ribbon, and we are simply going to wrap that around and tie a bow. Now, this is not necessary. You can embellish or decorate your box however you wish, but I did find that, okay, Sherry, I'm not good at tying bows on camera. Once you have a whole year's worth in your box, they get a little heavy, and by tying a single strip of ribbon all around the box, it gives it some nice support to kind of hold it together. I've not had one come apart yet. I've been storing mine this way for a year. I've got 2 other boxes. And if you don't want the ribbon to slide around or sag, or if you want to adhere it down, you can absolutely put some glue dots up underneath just to secure it. Okay, and then trim your ends to make them look pretty. Now, I'm left-handed, and I always try to remember that no matter how hard I try, I tie my bows upside down apparently, because always my ribbon tails go backwards. But in any case, there's your bow. And there's our box. Okay, so what do we put in the box? Now you're going to take your 3 pieces of Whisper White cardstock, and what I have found is the easiest thing is, before I cut anything, I'm going to score. I'm going to move this out of the way. I score at 3/8 inch on each along the long 11-inch sides. So let's see. Right here, I'm going to score 3/8 of an inch on this side, turn it around, score 3/8 of an inch on this side. Now this part is totally optional. I do this because I am not a very neat writer, but I don't want lines drawn on my paper. So now what I do is I just cut my paper into quarters. So cut it at 5 1/2, and then at 4 1/4, so that I have 4 A2 size panels that have a score line at the top. Now the score line is where I write my kit name and the year that, or date, the month and year that it was received. And then I take my clear envelope, which I had one, and I slip my little panel inside and slip my stamp inside. Make sure you get it in the right direction so you can read it when it's in the bag. Okay, and you can take off this backer and seal up the envelope so that the stamp doesn't come out, but it's reusable. So when you need it, you can just open it up, pull your stamp out, stamp with it, put it back, and fit it inside of your little magazine holder. Okay, so this is the one from last year, and now it's full. So it's time for me to start my new one and get going. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful. I hope that you'll get your paper pumpkin stamps organized so that you use them more frequently. With the holidays coming up, I know that you probably have lots of cards and tags and gifts on your list to make, and this hopefully will make life a little easier for you. Thank you for watching, and remember, you can always check out my website at www.thischickstamps.com for more tutorials, and shop online, and just come back and visit me often. Thanks for coming by. Bye-bye. Have a great day.